The 1970s was a decade of rebellion. From the Vietnam War protests to the rise of counterculture, music became both the soundtrack and the spark. But not every tune was welcomed. Some songs crossed lines, political, sexual, religious, and got silenced, banned from airwaves, pulled from shelves, condemned in headlines. And yet, songs didn't disappear. They burned brighter. So today, we're looking back at 13 most controversial banned songs of the 1970s. Number 13, Lola by the Kinks. In 1970, the Kinks released Lola, a catchy, acoustic-driven tale of a romantic encounter in a Soho bar. But its twist, revealing Lola as a trans woman, sparked major controversy. Some stations banned it not for the gender theme, but for a line mentioning Coca-Cola, violating BBC advertising rules. One lyric, one product name, and the song was off the air. What's often forgotten is that the BBC's ban wasn't driven by moral panic. It was about policy. The lyric, "Where you drink champagne and it tastes just like Coca-Cola," triggered their strict no advertising rule. Ray Davies had to re-record that line, swapping in Cherry Cola just to get airplay. A small edit, one that left a strange censorship legacy. Beyond the product placement, the real cultural wave came from the song's gender identity twist. In a time when LGBTQ+ topics were largely taboo in mainstream media, the Kinks approached it with striking nuance. Lola wasn't mocked. She was mysterious, powerful, and desirable. That subtle respect made the song even more radical for its time. Despite the bans, Lola climbed charts worldwide. It reached number 2 in the UK and number 9 in the US. Its blend of controversy and catchiness made it impossible to ignore. Over time, it became a cultural landmark, one of the first major pop songs to explore gender identity without ridicule. For all its censorship, Lola did what great songs do. It told the truth with a wink, a melody, and a little rebellion. Number 12, Suicide Solution by Ozzy Osbourne. Though not released until the very end of the 1970s, Suicide Solution triggered immediate backlash. Radio stations misunderstood its message, interpreting it as promoting self-harm. In truth, it was written about the dangers of alcohol addiction, inspired by the death of Bon Scott from AC/DC. But its title alone sent censors into a frenzy. Ozzy Osbourne's solo debut, Blizzard of Oz, introduced Suicide Solution in 1980. Though technically outside the 70s, it was recorded in the final stretch of the decade and carried the shockwaves of a changing rock era. With lyrics like "Wine is fine but whiskey's quicker," it flirted with a darkness that many mistook for endorsement. What critics overlooked was its intent. Co-written with Bob Daisley, the song wasn't a cry for help. It was a warning, a condemnation of substance written by a man battling his own demons. But the media pounced. Lawsuits followed in the 1980s when families blamed the song for teen suicides, claiming it planted the idea. Ozzy himself defended the track repeatedly, explaining that solution was used ironically, as in a chemical solution, poison. Still, once the title entered public consciousness, it became a lightning rod for moral panic. The song was pulled from some stations, edited on others, and nearly overshadowed the rest of the album. Despite or because of the controversy, the song endured. Its rawness spoke to a generation caught between rock's excess and the looming shadow of consequences. Suicide Solution didn't glorify death. It warned of its seduction. Number 11, Jet Boy Jet Girl by Elton Motello.
Can you tell what's on my mind?
Raw, rebellious, and drenched in punk energy, Jet Boy Jet Girl shocked even liberal listeners in 1977. Its explicit lyrics about adolescent sexuality and same-sex attraction got it banned in multiple countries. It was too bold, too explicit, and far too real for mainstream radio to handle at the time. Elton Motello, fronted by singer Alan Ward, recorded the track in Belgium with backing tracks that would later be used in Plastic Bertrand's Chaplin pour moi. But where Bertrand's version was nonsensical French punk pop, Jet Boy Jet Girl told a direct, provocative story of a young boy in love with an older man who leaves him for a girl.
He gives me bad.
The The lyrics didn't hide behind metaphor or suggestion. Lines like, "He gives me head," were intentionally blunt. For many broadcasters, it wasn't just edgy, it was unplayable. In the UK, the song was banned from nearly every major radio outlet. In the US, college stations became its only safe harbor.
Jet boy, jet girl.
Despite its bans, the track became an underground anthem in queer punk circles. It was unapologetic, loud, and unfiltered, a mirror to a world that rarely acknowledged stories like this. In a genre built on breaking rules, Jet Boy Jet Girl tore them to shreds and danced in the fallout. Its legacy lives on as one of the first punk songs to tackle LGBTQ+ identity head-on. It wasn't made for approval, it was made to be heard, raw and real.
He gives me head.
Number 10, The Pill by Loretta Lynn. In 1975, country music's queen Loretta Lynn dropped a bombshell, The Pill. Celebrating birth control and female autonomy, it was immediately pulled by dozens of country stations. Conservative America wasn't ready for a woman, especially a coal miner's daughter, to sing so openly about reproductive freedom. Written by Laureen Allen, Don McCann, and T.D. Bayless, The Pill didn't just acknowledge birth control, it praised it. With lines like, "This old maternity dress I've got is going in the garbage," Lynn gave voice to rural women who'd never heard their realities in music before. It was a seismic cultural shift, and Nashville trembled. Lynn recorded the song 2 years before its release, but her label delayed it, fearing backlash. And they were right. While the song was praised by women's rights groups and progressive critics, it was banned by over 60 radio stations across the American South. But the controversy only amplified its reach.
You're bringing up your army buddies home. You're calling from afar.
Despite the bans, The Pill became one of her biggest crossover hits, charting on both the country and pop charts. It sold over 500,000 copies and brought a new kind of listener to country music, women who saw themselves, perhaps for the first time, in the lyrics of a charting song. Loretta Lynn didn't just sing about freedom, she lived it. And with The Pill, she helped pave the way for future artists to speak louder, bolder, and with fewer apologies.
Yeah, make it up for all those years.
Number 9, Brown Sugar by the Rolling Stones. The Rolling Stones knew how to stir the pot, but Brown Sugar took it to another level. Released in 1971, the lyrics addressed slavery, interracial sex, and drug use, all wrapped in a blistering riff. Critics called it provocative, exploitative, and racially insensitive. Many stations refused to play it at all. The track opens the Sticky Fingers album, driven by a hard-hitting guitar line and Jagger's snarling vocals. But beneath the swagger lies something darker. The lyrics refer to a slave ship, a young black girl, and the violent dynamics of power. Whether intended as critique or provocation, the ambiguity made it combustible. Mick Jagger later admitted his discomfort with the song, saying he wouldn't write it the same way today. Still, in the early 70s, Brown Sugar wasn't just allowed, it climbed to number 1 in the United States. The controversy ironically didn't stall its momentum, it fueled it. The bans came later, as criticism caught up. In recent years, the band has pulled it from live performances entirely, acknowledging the changing cultural lens. What was once seen as daring now carries a heavy historical weight, and yet it remains one of their most recognizable and debated songs, forcing fans to confront art that both moves and disturbs. Brown Sugar is a raw nerve, still buzzing with energy, still loaded with questions, and still playing louder than the silence it left behind. Number 8, Only Women Bleed by Alice Cooper.
She spends her life through.
Alice Cooper shocked audiences with his makeup and stage theatrics, but it was this ballad that stirred deeper trouble. Only Women Bleed spoke about domestic abuse and the quiet suffering of women. Some stations misunderstood the intent, thinking it was offensive or cruel. In reality, it was a somber cry for empathy.
She feeds some dinner, oh.
Released in 1975 on the Welcome to My Nightmare album, Only Women Bleed was a dramatic departure from Cooper's horror-themed rock. It was soft, slow, and sincere, so much so that fans weren't sure what to make of it. Its title alone triggered bans. Some thought it referred to menstruation. Others assumed it was misogynistic.
Clean up this grime and you there.
But the song was written with care. Co-written by Cooper and guitarist Dick Wagner, it detailed the cycle of pain, silence, and resilience in abusive relationships. It gave a voice to women trapped in violence, decades before it became a mainstream topic in music. Yet the message got lost in assumption and discomfort.
Only women bleed.
Despite the bans, the song became a hit. It reached number 12 on the Billboard Hot 100 and helped reshape Cooper's public image. The shock rocker wasn't just about guillotines and gore. He had something heartfelt to say. And when he did, millions listened, even if some stations didn't want them to. Only Women Bleed wasn't meant to provoke. It was meant to humanize. And it still echoes today as a rare moment when hard rock looked softly at real pain.
She got the need.
Number 7, Short People by Randy Newman.
Walk around telling great big lies they got.
Few songs sparked more confusion than Short People. Released in 1977, many thought Newman was mocking people with short stature. But it was satire, criticizing irrational prejudice. Still, the joke didn't land for everyone. Some states even tried to introduce legislation banning it. A misunderstanding turned into a nationwide debate.
Short people got nobody.
The track appeared on Newman's album Little Criminals, and it quickly divided listeners. With lyrics like, "Short people got no reason to live," many took it at face value. They missed the irony. Newman was using absurdity to highlight how ridiculous discrimination sounds, but that nuance got lost in the outrage.
Going PPP, they got grab a little.
The backlash was intense. Radio stations across the United States pulled the song, and Newman began receiving hate mail and even threats. One Maryland delegate went so far as to propose banning the song from public airwaves entirely. It became a case study in how satire can be misinterpreted when the delivery is too deadpan.
It's a wonderful world. All men are brothers until the day.
Still, despite the controversy, or perhaps because of it, the song soared. It hit number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100 and gave Newman his biggest commercial success. The song's infectious piano melody clashed with its biting lyrics, creating a kind of artistic whiplash that forced listeners to think twice. Short People wasn't about height, it was about hate. And in showing just how absurd bigotry sounds, Newman held up a mirror that some people just weren't ready to face.
Come up just to say hello. They got
Number 6, One Toke Over the Line by Brewer and Shipley. Sweet harmonies, gentle guitars, all-Martian lyrics about being one toke over the line. In 1971, that was enough to get the song banned from multiple radio networks. Despite, or maybe because of, its reference to marijuana, it became a cult classic. Even the FCC weighed in. It was mellow, it was catchy, and it was too much for prime time. Written by Mike Brewer and Tom Shipley, the song was originally a joke. Shipley walked into a room and said he was one toke over the line, and Brewer turned the phrase into a chorus. The rest came together in a single night. What started as a stoner pun became their biggest hit. The duo didn't expect controversy. They thought the song's gentle delivery would mask the reference. But by the time it climbed to number 10 on the Billboard Hot 100, conservative voices had already taken notice. The FCC began investigating whether it violated broadcasting standards. Some stations pulled it, others played it non-stop. Ironically, the song gained national exposure when Lawrence Welk, unaware of the slang meaning, featured it on his television show, calling it a modern spiritual. The moment became legendary. Welk's wholesome image clashed hilariously with the song's drug reference, cementing its status in music folklore. One Toke Over the Line didn't glorify drug use. It captured a moment, a haze of uncertainty, rebellion, and accidental fame. And sometimes one toke was all it took to start a fire. Number 5, High School Confidential by Rough Trade. Released in 1979, this Canadian punk rock track caused an uproar in both Canada and the United States. Its raw sexual energy, lesbian subtext, and aggressive tone got it blacklisted by mainstream radio. But for many, it became an anthem, an unapologetic embrace of queer identity long before it was widely accepted. Fronted by Carol Pope and Kevin Staples, Rough Trade brought a theatrical, confrontational energy to the stage. High School Confidential pulsed with desire and danger. Its lyrics fixated on a hypersexualized schoolgirl, both a fantasy and a metaphor for hidden cravings. It was queer, it was intense, and it made people nervous.
Who's that guy? Is he?
The song was never meant to be subtle. It was a challenge to the sanitized norms of pop radio, especially at a time when homosexuality was still taboo in mainstream media. Though it cracked the Canadian Top 40, many stations refused to spin it. In the United States, it barely got off the ground.
Stilettos click.
Still, it built a cult following, particularly among LGBTQ+ youth who saw in it something rare, open desire without apology. Carol Pope's fierce delivery, combined with the band's glam punk aesthetic, carved out a space for queer expression in a world that often erased it. For many, it wasn't just a song, it was a signal. High School Confidential kicked open a door that others were still afraid to knock on. It didn't ask for permission. It lit a match and dared the world to watch it burn.
Confidential.
Number 4, Let's Get It On by Marvin Gaye.
Do you know the meaning of being?
It may be a classic now, but in 1973, Marvin Gaye's sensual anthem faced pushback from conservative stations. Let's Get It On wasn't just romantic, it was deeply, overtly sexual. Some called it obscene, others called it revolutionary. Either way, the song got more than a few red flags from radio censors.
Oh, yes, you did.
Co-written with Ed Townsend, the song was originally intended as a spiritual message, but as Gaye worked through personal grief and longing, it transformed into a slow-burning seduction. The lyrics didn't hide their intent. They celebrated pleasure. With every falsetto and whispered phrase, Gaye broke the rules of what a love song could be.
Oh, let me be.
The timing was perfect and dangerous. America was still grappling with the sexual revolution, and Gaye, coming off the politically charged "What's Going On," was now challenging intimacy itself. The song's opening moan alone caused some DJs to panic. Others edited it. A few refused to play it at all. But the public embraced it. Let's Get It On soared to number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and became Gaye's biggest hit. It wasn't just a bedroom ballad, it was a cultural moment. The sound of walls falling down, one slow groove at a time. It turned Marvin Gaye into a sex symbol and cemented his legacy as a boundary pusher.
Understand me, sure.
Let's Get It On didn't sneak into hearts. It stormed in, unbuttoned and unashamed. It made desire feel sacred, and it still plays like a confession whispered in the dark.
Self-belief can never be wrong.
Number 3, God Save the Queen by Sex Pistols. Released during Queen Elizabeth II's Silver Jubilee in 1977, this punk anthem was anything but celebratory. Calling the monarchy a fascist regime, the Sex Pistols were banned by the BBC, dropped by their record label, and barred from performing. Yet the song soared, reaching number 2 in the United Kingdom while being officially silenced. At the height of British nationalism, God Save the Queen was a Molotov cocktail. Johnny Rotten's sneer wasn't just rebellious, it was venomous. The lyrics painted a bleak picture of Britain as a heartless machine. The establishment called it treason. For the band, it was truth wrapped in distortion and spit. The BBC banned it immediately. Virgin Records pressed on, literally. They had to find independent distributors willing to risk legal action. The band's infamous performance on a boat outside Parliament led to arrests. It wasn't just a protest, it was punk rock performance art aimed at shaking the empire. Some speculate the song actually hit number 1 but was blocked on official charts for political reasons. The controversy made it even more iconic. It didn't just critique royalty, it tore the curtain off British class divides, youth anger, and generational disillusionment. It was banned in stores, boycotted in media, and burned into memory. God Save the Queen wasn't just a song. It was a middle finger in musical form, loud, vicious, and unforgettable. Number 2, Love to Love You Baby by Donna Summer. Disco's breakout diva moaned her way into controversy with this 1975 hit. Love to Love You Baby was drenched in sensuality, so much so that some DJs refused to play it. The BBC banned it after hours. America edited it for length. But the original 17-minute version? That stayed underground, sweaty, and unforgettable. Produced by Giorgio Moroder and Pete Bellotte, the track was revolutionary in sound and tone. It layered synths over a pulsing beat while Donna Summer's breathy vocals simulated ecstasy, reportedly including over 20 vocalized moans. Inspired by Jane Birkin's Je t'aime moi non plus, it was meant to seduce the listener from the first note. The full-length version wasn't radio-friendly, nor was it meant to be. It played in nightclubs, not car stereos. Many stations trimmed it to 3 minutes. Others refused altogether. Even Casablanca Records founder Neil Bogart requested she extend the moaning, pushing the track to nearly 17 minutes of hypnotic, erotic sound. The song didn't just stir censors, it ignited debates. Was it art or pornography? Empowerment or exploitation? For Summer, it was a performance, deliberate, theatrical, and strategic. She once said she recorded the vocals lying on her back with the lights out, trying to find the right tone between suggestive and immersive. Love to Love You Baby wasn't afraid of desire. It whispered it, pulsed with it, and claimed space for it on dance floors worldwide.
Oh, love to love you, baby. Oh, love to love you.
Number 1. Imagine by John Lennon. It's hard to think of Imagine as controversial, but when Lennon asked us to picture a world without religion, borders, or possessions, not everyone applauded. Some countries banned it for being anti-religious or communist, yet in the silence that followed its censorship, the song only grew stronger, becoming an anthem for peace across generations. Released in 1971, Imagine was simple on the surface, just piano, voice, and a dream. But its lyrics offered a radical worldview. Lennon asked us to strip away identity, wealth, and belief systems, hoping we'd find unity underneath. To some, it sounded utopian. To others, it sounded threatening, an erasure of faith and patriotism.
You may say I'm a dreamer.
The song was banned in South Africa under apartheid. In the United States, some stations quietly pulled it during times of war. Religious leaders called it blasphemous. Politicians labeled it subversive, yet it kept returning, on radio, in protest marches, and across candlelit vigils whenever tragedy struck. The bands couldn't bury it, they only deepened its meaning.
Imagine no possession.
Yoko Ono later revealed the lyrics were inspired by her poetry, and that she should have been credited. Over time, Lennon acknowledged that. The song wasn't just his, it was a collective hope wrapped in melody, and that, perhaps, is why it endured. It wasn't about Lennon, it was about everyone listening. Imagine asks the impossible and somehow makes it feel within reach. It remains a song of quiet rebellion, whispered across decades, still daring us to dream.
Imagine all the people.
The 1970s gave us more than music. It gave us messages hidden in melodies, challenges wrapped in choruses, and truths disguised as rhythm. These banned songs remind us that art has always pushed against the edges, daring to say what society wasn't ready to hear. They were silenced in their time, yet they endure, still speaking, still stirring, still shaping memories. They remind us that the most powerful music isn't always the safest. It's the kind that risks being banned, just to be heard. If you enjoyed this journey through the most controversial banned songs of the 1970s, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more musical stories from the past. Which of these songs do you remember hearing or missing back then? Share your memories in the comments below. Until next time, keep the music playing.